In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Count Dooku, or Darth Tyrannus, for the Black Series 6-inch line. He was figure number 107 in the red and black packaging, and he was actually one of the very last action figures to be featured in the red and black package at the time. So he was released back in 2020, I think it was, and I didn't waste any time getting him because up until then, Count Dooku was probably one of the most highly desired action figures in the Black Series line. And I think Hasbro knocked it out of the park. Up until we get the TBC one, I would say that this Count Dooku remains the best one that Hasbro's made to date. And even if the TBC one, or when it does get released, at least now it's a confirmed thing, I would say that who knows, this might end up being the best Count Dooku that Hasbro ever makes. The TBC one at this time, it's really hard to say if it will end up being better than this one or if it'll be on par. Up until now, I know some people have raised some concerns about it because of some of the articulation on it doesn't seem like it's as good as it could be, especially in the elbows. But we'll see when I do get that action figure in hand, which hopefully will be this year coming up. I'll be sure to do a comparison between this action figure and that one. So, like I said, I didn't waste any time getting this action figure. Pretty much as soon as he was released, I got on eBay and went ahead and got one. I didn't pay much more than probably the retail price for it. I forget specifically what I paid for it. It was in the $20 range. This was probably one of the last action figures in the Black Series line as well. That was only $19.99 at the time, which, hard to believe, only 3 years later we're paying the prices that we are. And it's amazing how things change so fast. And who knows what 3 more years down the road will bring. So this action figure is really good. I think Hasbro did about as good as it can be. Looks pretty close to Christopher Lee. It's not 100% there, but it's pretty close. As far as the figure itself, I think he's an appropriate height. As we know, Christopher Lee was a very tall person, and it does translate over into Dooku here. And it does seem like he's a much taller character compared to many others. We'll just bring out Anakin here real quick to give you some perspective. And even though with that hood on, he does have a little bit of a height difference. And of course, Anakin is a slightly taller character. Not the tallest, but he's up there. I guess we'll just take a closer look at him then. So he has a very stern and skeptical expression, which is appropriate for Dooku, or Tyrannus at this point. Not too often he gets referred to as Darth Tyrannus, which is kind of odd because we refer to Darth Maul as Darth Maul and Darth Vader as Darth Vader, but we don't seem to do that with Tyrannus too much. The beard and the hair looks pretty good. He has that slick back look, which is accurate. And the beard looks like a beard. Oftentimes Hasbro can't seem to do beards very well, and it just doesn't come out right. But this time I think they did do a good job. And it does have some darker spots around it, especially in one chin there. As for the rest of his tunic here, it's pretty basic. There's really not a whole lot to say about it. It does have some nice texturing detail in it though, and it has all the appropriate folds and ruffles that you would see in typical clothes. So that's pretty nice. He has his belt here, and he does have a spot where you can plug in the lightsaber. And he has his boots here, which do have a little bit of glossy look to them. Actually, the foot itself kind of looks like it has more of a matte finish, while the boot has a little bit more of a glossy look. As far as cape, it is an appropriate cut, and I like the style it has to it. You can get Dooku in that signature pose that we often see him in. Kind of reminds you of Dracula. And then from the back here, it's pretty good as well. Did do a nice cut with that on both sides. This clasp here, you are able to take that out. I've never actually done it before. Let's see if it does pop out somewhat easy or not. I'm really gonna break it. So yeah. Turns out you can pop the robe off, no problem, or the cape. So if you wanted to, you could have Tyrannus here acting like he's in training. Typically doesn't have his cape on when he does that. And here's the clasp. Well, it would look kind of odd with him having those two holes there in his chest. So I can't imagine too many people are really going to be doing that. Let's see here. We'll line it up properly here. This side. And it pops into place, no problem. So that is an option for you. So in terms of the articulation, he's pretty good. He does have the ball joint at the head there. It doesn't have the most motion in the world, but he doesn't really need a whole lot. He does have a joint at the base of his neck as well, so he does have a little bit extra mobility. Of course, hinged shoulders and hinged elbows, which go low past 90 degrees, which is nice. He does have hinged wrists. This one goes in and out, and this one goes up and down. Does have a nice joint to torso there, or at the waist actually. He does have a cut at the end of his tunic here, so he does have some extra flexibility in his hips, which are hinged, and of course he has a swivel thigh. And at this time is when Hasbro was transitioning away from the pins in the knees here, so this is probably one of the first ones that did not feature pins. So he just has hinged knees, it's just a single joint. And of course the rock ankles as well. In terms of accessories, I suppose you could count the clasp and his cape as an accessory. And of course, what would Darth Tyrannus be without his signature lightsaber, which is more made for fencing and has some nice detailing in that. Does have the guard at the end there, nice red blade. And something that Hasbro did try at this time, I think they were trying to compete with figure arts, is they came with a waving blade here, which has like a 3D effect, I guess. This would be good for dioramas and displays. And speaking of the figure arts Dooku, I do have that one as well, but he's in the box right now. So when I finally get around to opening that again and reviewing that, I'll be sure to do a comparison between that one and this Dooku. But I will say that I have had them open before and had them displayed. Between the figure arts Dooku and this one, I would say this one's probably the better one. And that's mainly because of the articulation. It does have that pin there, the hilt. The blade pops out no problem. And you can put it in the belt there. Or maybe I won't be able to actually. Yeah, believe it or not, that will not work. That hole on his belt there is way too small for that. So that's kind of unfortunate. Perhaps I'll have to try and drill that out a little bit, get it to work. But let's see what he looks like with this alternative blade here. Not sure if I showed that, but he has a little bit of gold at the top there. So yeah, it has this nice charm to it. It's pretty good. I suppose if you're interested in dioramas or making scenes, that would be a handy accessory for you. Surprisingly, we've never really seen Hasbro reintroduce that into the line. I think Dooku's the only one that they've done that has a swinging blade like that. Hot Toys does that for most of their Jedi or Sith action figures. At least in recent years they have. And I think at this particular time is when Hasbro was trying to compete with that. Oftentimes the figure arts and the Hot Toys action figures were so much better, and of course Hot Toys is usually the superior figure of all the characters, but I think they were trying to tap into that market a little bit and do some extra blade accessories for that, but it just never really caught on for them. These days they probably say it makes the action figure deluxe be doing that. Who knows? But that's pretty much all there is with Dooku. I will do one more thing here. Small scene here. Right now, Saj Ventress. I kind of want to make that one scene that you see in some art every now and then. Hopefully I can do that with this. And it's mostly doable. And they look pretty good together. I think that's all I can really tell you about Dooku. So would I recommend him for your collection? I totally would. This is, like I said, probably the best Count Dooku that Hasbro has made to date. And even after the TVC one's released, it potentially might stand as that. Of course, it's not really fair to compare the two since they're different scales, but this will probably be the only Black Series Dooku we ever get. I can't really see Hasbro doing a re-release. Maybe they'll do an archive. I don't think it's really high on their priority list at this time, though. And I can't really think of any other media where we potentially might see Dooku, unless it's like Tales of the Jedi, but I don't think Hasbro's going to do an entirely new Dooku just for that series. So this might be your only chance at getting one. As far as price is concerned, I don't think he's the worst. It's been a while since I've looked at it. He's certainly above retail price, I'll say that, but he's not like you're going to get online and be like, whoa, that's a whole lot more than I was expecting. Not like the Revenge of the Sith Anakin, I'll say that. But he might be a little bit more pricey. But still, even if you spent like $35 or $40 for this, I still think he's totally worth it. Like I said, he might be the only Dooku we ever get in Black Series, so it might be the one to get. And I think Hasbro knocked it out of the park. He's pretty much perfect. Looks exactly like Christopher Lee, or close to it, and I think they got just about everything right about him. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support. And check out the links in the description if you haven't done so already. As always, thanks for watching.